In this video, we're going to be going over the forthcoming trade containers feature. This is a feature a number of customers have asked for recently, where people would like to give an amount to a customer on the spot for a box of items and then itemize it at a later time, and to really take their time, but they're going to give a quote up front to the customer and give them that amount. Um, there are other ways to do this besides using this feature. So if you have a method that you like, that you're currently using, you can certainly keep using that. This is simply a new feature that we think people will be excited for, that some customers may choose to use for this purpose. So we're going to take a look here at our test version. And I'm going to sign in here. So on the all features register, once this version is released, you will have a new button available. You can also, of course, add it through the register designer. But if we go to the register here, it is the trade container. Now, there's a couple of things specific about the trade container that you're going to want to keep in mind. Number one, it does work like any other trade-in, so it will be counted as a trade-in on your sales totals reports, everything else, but you won't have promotions applied to it automatically. It's going to be kind of like a miscellaneous item like that. So in order to actually put the item on the invoice, you can either scan Tradeco, which is the new system item, that's TRADECO, or you can just hit the trade container button here. You don't necessarily have to mark it as a trade-in or used. The trade container will always be a used trade-in. Now, as you can see here, we're getting an error. That's because this does follow the setting for a customer needing to be selected in order to do trade-ins. You can have that on or off, but it will affect this item the same as it will all other trades. So we're just going to select a customer here. And then we're going to hit trade container here. And you're going to notice that you get two things you can fill in here. Notes, you can choose to print on the receipt or not. If you don't print them on the receipt, the customer will not see them. If you do print them on the receipt, obviously they will. But they can be a bit of information about the particular trade container. For example, you could say it's a box of 100 items, or 2 cardboard boxes, or whatever information will help you identify the trade container later for when you need to fill it. But you're going to put in those notes now. So we'll say, one empty, or not one empty box, but one filled box of stuff. And then you're going to put in the price, and the price is the amount you want to give the customer for it. So in this case, let's say $15. You can give anywhere between 1 cent and $100,000 for a trade container, but you do have to give them something. So we're going to hit OK here, and it's going to put it on the invoice as a trade container. Now, at this point, we can't change the price. If you need to change it or anything else, you just need to delete the item from the invoice and then re-add it. Very similar to like a gift card in that way. But then if we go to complete the transaction here, and we complete it the same as any other trade, if we were to print a receipt here, and I will print a receipt here, just to a PDF, just for the purposes of demonstrating this. So we'll go here, and you'll see here that it's got the option on for printing the notes, so it will show the notes on here, and it will show that it is a trade container, and that was for $15. So keep this in mind. So now later on, when we're ready, and this doesn't have to be the same day or anything, it can be in the future, we can just go into the back end here and just go to activities and then trade containers, and we will see the listing for that trade container. So at this point, we can then hit edit to edit this trade container, and we can just scan our items in, or you can search for them through the lookup screen. This is a pretty blank database, so I don't have a ton in here, but similar to Any other purchase order or at the register, if you're using vendor databases, quick importing will work here. You can also, if you scan something and you don't have it, I'll just punch in a random set of numbers here. It's going to ask if we want to add it. So in this case, I'm just going to say yes. And we'll just add a test item here. And we'll say it's $10 used. I'm not going to bother filling out the rest of it. It's then going to ask, what cost we want to give it. So we'll say $5 is how much we want to assign there. And basically what we have to do is we need that all of the items within this container, in order for us to finalize, they have to add up to be the amount we gave in terms of our cost that we're assigning to each one. So in order for us to finalize here, it will not let us do it right now because we do not have a total cost of exactly $15. In order to do that, there's a few different ways. We can, of course, manually do it. Any of these things that are blue, so quantity or cost. So if we were to change this quantity, we say they gave us 3 of the same item, that would immediately take us to $15. You can also just, if you don't want to individually assign the cost, you just want to divide it up evenly among all of the items in there. What you can do is you just add, I'm just going to add a couple more items in here. I'm going to leave them at 0 just to show this. You can hit the button down here that says auto assign costs. So if you hit that, it's going to automatically divvy up the costs such that it will result in, being $0 remaining. So if you want to just value everything in the box equally, you can do that. Much more commonly, though, people are going to want to individually assign costs because realistically, what you gave the person for the container probably was based on a few highlight items, right? Like in generally, that's what is going to have happened. So let's say that in this case, this bottom item was like, we gave them, most of this $15 was because of that. We can certainly say, and you'll see at the top, it's updating right here and telling us we were over by however much. But like I said, you have to be at $0 remaining before it's going to let you finalize. So other buttons down here, I just want to mention really briefly. Delete item will remove an item from the container completely. Import from device allows you to use a batch scanner the same way you can in purchase orders or in physical inventory to pull a list of items into the system. So if you've scanned all the items in the container with your batch scanner, you can do that here. Info will just show you the container number, the transaction number, and info about the customer, and then when it was originally created. Just a little bit more information about the container you're on. Cancel will discard all of our changes and just leave. Similarly, if we were to just click away or to just close the software without saving, it will effectively cancel it. Save without finalizing will not finalize it, but it will save this as we've done it. So I'm going to hit that and then hit edit again so that we can come back later. So all of this again is very similar to how purchase orders work within the Windows version. And then last but most certainly not least is finalize. And like I've said a couple of times, this is only going to work if you're at $0 remaining. And when you hit it, if you are at $0 remaining, it's going to give you a warning because once you do this, you can't undo it. Once it's finalized, it's going to update all of these items. If you have average costing on it, it's going to adjust the costs of all of these items. And then you're not going to be able to do anything else with the container. You'll just have to do adjustments on the individual items if you need to at that point. But we're going to say yes here. So now what it's just done, we've added 1 to all of those items, which will be easiest to see on the one we created here, this test item. So you can see that it has a used quantity of 1 now, which was obviously 0 before. It's given it a cost of 50 cents, which is what we assigned to it there. If we look at the history of this item, it's going to, on the used history, show us that we traded it in on the original transaction. Similarly, if we go back and we look at the original transaction now, we can see that it has now modified the trade container to say when it was filled, and it has added these individual items to the receipt. And if we reprint the receipt at this point, and we go look at the receipt, we can see that it has changed. The trade container is now $0. And then all of the individual items are listed here for the amounts we gave them. But because we required that the individual items add up to match the trade container, it does not change the financials for that day. What it does is it means that this transaction still happened on the day that you took it in, and it's now been added to our inventory. But the history on those items are that they came in when you took the trade. So all of that is accurate from an accounting point of view. Even if your sales totals, your trades for the day are still going to be exactly the same, but now you're going to have the individual items instead of the overall container. So that's kind of the advantage of doing this versus how people have previously done it with a generic item into a purchase order or that kind of thing. Hopefully this will be a much more effective method for people. And then you can obviously print all labels for the trade in here, but you can also, if you just, because you can take trades besides just the one container, or you can do multiple containers on the same trade. You can also, under the trade containers section, you can print the labels for a specific closed trade in or closed trade container. So that'll only do the items that were within that container instead of all items that were traded on the same transaction, just in case you had some items that were not in the container that were traded. That's kind of niche. Most of the times, either one of those print labels is going to do the same and print all the items that were in the container, but that is a function that is available for you. We're very hopeful that this will help out with people. I know a lot of our record store users in particular have mentioned that this is a very common occurrence for them, and we wanted to give a better way to handle it beyond the previous methods that have been used. But like I said, we haven't taken anything away. If you want to keep doing it the way you have been, you can. But if you have any questions about this, if anything about this does not make sense to you, or you are interested in more details, please reach out to us and we're happy to help out.